Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. First of all, for those of you who are celebrating, wish you all a very happy Diwali. Please stay safe and try and be a little more mindful of the environment and the people around you and the situation that we are in today. Having said that, we are in the month of November, and like I said the previous time, this month we are dedicating all our conversations around children, children's health, children's mental health, and all the other conversations that we need to have around children. To that effect, we have someone with us who is very senior, who has been in this field for a very long time. Father Joy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Let me introduce Father Joy. Father Joy has a master's in social work and over 25 years of experience in the field. He's worked in various capacities with marginalized children, youth, and communities as a Salesian of Don Bosco. He's been leading Brett's Bangalore for the past 8 years. Having said that, let me also give you guys a little bit introduction about Brett so that you understand what is the conversation we're going to be having today. BREDS is the Planning and Development Office of the Salesian Province of Bangalore, India. Over 27 years, BREDS has implemented more than 500 projects for the sustainable development of marginalized people with its 43 partners, which are the Don Bosco NGOs in Karnataka and Kerala. BREDS is focused on citizenship and nation building, which includes empowering children and adults through education, skilling to become responsible citizens with access to their rights. Today, our conversation is going to be focused around children rights and education. And we have Father Joy with us, who's going to be talking to us about these various questions, and we're going to be picking his brains. He's going to be giving us a lot of stats and facts. I'd like to begin, Father, by asking you a very basic question, which might seem very juvenile, but my question is, why is it that children are considered vulnerable? And could you cite an example and talk to us about why is it important for us to protect them?
Good evening, all of you. First of all, thank you, Suti and Dialogue Space for having me this evening to talk to you about children and their rights. And a happy Diwali to all of you, my viewers, and to Suti as well.
Thank you.
Your question about the vulnerability of children, of course, children are small. They are not yet developed into full human beings,
Right,
mature human beings. So
right,
physically, mentally, emotionally, they are still children. So they are most vulnerable.
right,
And if you look at children, they also lack autonomy and decision making. They are always depend on others, especially
right,
adults. So in
right,
that sense, they are vulnerable. But then the vulnerability increases because if they are from a very poor family, for example, economically backward section, and then that child is more vulnerable. Or if that child is from a Dalit community or a backward community or a scheduled caste and scheduled tribe or from a rural area where there's less access to rights and education, etc., then that child becomes more vulnerable, not because
right,
of his or her age, but also
right,
from the background from which she or he comes.
right,
So that's why we call children most vulnerable.
right. And could you talk to us a little about why is it important to protect them? Because that is the more important thing, right?
Yes, of course, because they have their rights
Right,
and they are human beings. The moment they are born on this earth, they
right,
are citizens of this country,
right,
and as such, they have their rights.
right,
And then, more than about their rights and duties, etc., as human beings, we have the right to protect
right,
our own children.
right, right.
That's the basic thing that we should do.
Right, right. I think that makes a lot of sense. For those of you who are joining us right now, this is Father Joy with us. We are talking to him on Dialogues That Matter, an interview series where we talk to change makers. And today's topic is children rights and their right to education, since this month is Children's Day and we want to talk about important conversations. And this month we've picked children issues as our topic. Moving forward, Father, you have cited very well that it is important for us to protect children, like you said, because they don't have a voice of their own, and they need
Yeah.
certain care and protection. Could you talk to us a little bit about what is the provision that the government has made to protect them?
Yeah, there are lots of laws related to children in India.
Right, right,
One of the most comprehensive acts is the Juvenile Justice Act of
right,
2015.
right,
And that act takes care of two types of children. One is the children who really need care and protection.
Right.
And the second group is the children who are in conflict with the law.
Right.
Uh, the children who need care and protection would be children who are on the streets, who
Right.
are orphans, who are child laborers, who are children given in marriage, etc.
Right.
While the children in conflict with law are those children who happen to commit crimes. Of course, these children also need attention, and
Right.
there is the Child Welfare Committee at the
Right.
district level, and there
Right.
is also the Juvenile Justice Board. These are the two bodies that take care of both these sections of children.
Right.
So this is one of the most comprehensive act, and the beautiful thing about this act is they define child as a person below the age of 18.
Right.
While we have other views about the age of children in the other different in other acts, so
Right.
that is something very contradictory if you look at the other acts. The other
Right.
act was the famous act, the Child Labor Act, Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act,
Right.
which was recently amended in 2016. But then, as a civil society organization and as a person who has been working with children who were working or
Right.
who are working, I felt that this new amendment has not really helped children and their cause.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have gone back in all our efforts to, fight for the rights of these children. Because
Right.
if you look at that act very closely, they have um, they have slashed the list of hazardous occupations for children from 83 hazardous occupations to just three. Would be mining, explosive, and also occupations mentioned in the Factory Act.
Right.
So they have actually belittled the seriousness of that particular act, which was earlier, and also it contradicts the Juvenile Justice Act that we are talking about. It also goes against the ILO norms, International Labour Organization norms.
Right.
Also, it goes against the UNCRC,
Okay.
United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, of which the government of India is also signatory. So in that way, that act is not actually, for me personally, also I feel that it's not going to help much children, especially those who are working.
Right.
And one of the landmark acts recently that was passed by the government was the Right to Education Act, RTE of 2009. That was a big boost for children and for all those activists who were demanding that right to education should be a fundamental right. The Article 21A, the
Right.
fundamental right to life is being interpreted, and this act came into existence. And that was a big boost for all children across India.
Right.
But then again, it goes to, or it takes only of children between the age to from 6 to 14. For
Right.
them, the government will provide free and compulsory education. But then what about the children who are between the age of 15 to 18?
Right.
What about their education, their higher studies? So
Right.
that is not taken into consideration in this. At least I would say this is a big jump.
Right.
Then we have, of course, the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act in 2006, and the latest is about protection of children from sexual offenses of 2012. So
Right.
these are the most important laws that we have in India to protect the rights of children.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense. I think
Yeah,
so. These are all the acts that are kind of put into place by the government, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then it's organizations like you that come into play to kind of take this forward.
Yes, to facilitate the process and implementation of these laws.
Right, right. So that brings us to an organization like you, right? Could you talk to us a little bit about your project, which is the CREAM project, and what you do under that?
Yeah. Before that, I thought we should talk a little more about the basic rights of children, right?
Right, right,
The basic rights of children. There are four basic rights of children. The first right is the right to survival.
right,
That would include the right to life, health, nutrition, name, and nationality.
okay,
And then the second right is the right to development.
right,
That would include the right to education, right to care, leisure, recreation, cultural activities. And then we have the third main right, the right to protection from exploitation, abuse, and neglect. And the last, the right is the right to participation. That would include the right to expression, information, thought, and religion. So these
right,
are the four fundamental rights that children have.
right,
Um, of course, then we can also talk about those biggest hurdle or challenges that are faced by children in our society, especially the problem of child labor
Right.
and child marriage. It's
Right.
a big issue even now, even in the 21st century. And one of the booming economies of the world is India.
Right.
But still, we are still grappled with the situation of children working, children given in marriage in India
Right.
before they are adults. I would like to give you a little bit of about the statistics about the children
Right.
who are really in these vulnerable situations.
Right.
There are 33 million child laborers in India.
Right.
33 million child laborers in India, according to UNICEF. This
Right.
is the official data of UNICEF. As per the 2011 census, 80% of these children who are working are Dalits, and 20% of them are from backward classes. And but if you look at independent investigation by NGOs, the number would be very,
Right.
very high, and
Right.
much more than what is quoted by the government or by the UNICEF. Another startling fact is that 23.2% of the girls in Karnataka are married before the age of 18. So 23.2%. That's a big number. This is according to the National Family Health Survey of 2016. So quite recent data.
Right.
And we are still grappling with the problem of the pandemic, COVID. But to our surprise, during this COVID time, child marriages have increased,
Right.
and there's supposed to be a lack of mobility. We are not supposed to have functions,
Right.
less transport,
Right.
but then child marriages have increased. And according to the Karnataka State Commission for the Protection of Child Rights, KCPCR, there were 108 child marriages in Mysore between March and July this year.
Okay.
108 of them.
Right.
And between March and May, the Childline India, 1098, that's a helpline by Childline. There were 5,333 child marriage cases in India
Hmm.
in between those months. So it has really spiked. Child marriage cases have really spiked during this COVID pandemic. And the one of the recent issues that government is discussing is about increasing the age of girl children to get married.
Hmm.
At the moment, it is 18 that you can legally get married to a boy. But the government is planning to increase the age to 21. This has taken by surprise, and many of us, the civil society organizations, and the government of India has formulated or formed a task force to study this.
Right.
And in the beginning, there was very little interest with this task force to consult civil society organizations and children on this issue.
Right.
But then we sensed it, and then um, we came around the 96 civil society organizations who are working on behalf of children and for their rights. We came together, including BREDS, Don Bosco, and then we tried to mobilize children and adolescent girls and boys
Right.
to understand what exactly they think about the marriageable age
Right.
for girls, especially 18. And
Right.
then we called a consortium, and this consortium is called Young Voices. It was formed on the 26th of June 2020,
Okay.
and within 3 weeks, we could mobilize 2,480 children from 15 states of India.
Right.
So all these children have spoken about their view about this plan of the government to increase the age to 21.
Right.
And unanimously, or most of them, 99% of them told that the most important thing for children is not about raising their age to, for girls to raising their age to 21. The most important thing the government should do is to empower them, give
Right.
them more education, facilities, scholarship, so
Right.
that they can live there, and then they can take an informed choice. They
Right.
can make an informed decision whether they want to get married at the age of 18 or 21 or 24.
Right.
If they are educated and well informed, and then they are in a better position to choose and decide whether I should get married at the age of 18 or 25.
Right.
So girls are more worried about their empowerment and their education, their betterment than just about marriage. This is what the children spoke, and they gave very,
Right.
very concrete recommendations to this task force, and they represented
Right.
themselves to Miss Smriti Irani, who is our minister, Central Minister for Women and Child Development Department. So one of those, few of those suggestions were they told the government creative incentives for us for quality education, secure jobs, information and access to sanitary napkins, for example, that will enable us to realize our aspirations.
Right.
Second was conduct mass awareness drives with our parents and community leaders to encourage them to discuss our issues and respect our decisions.
Right.
Please make our parents aware about our rights. That
Right.
was their suggestion. Then they said increase the right to education from grade 8 to grade 12. What
Right.
happens to me if I want to pursue my education after class 10?
Right.
You don't support me because it's no more my right, fundamental right. So increase that fundamental right to at least the time when I pursue at least my plus two and graduation.
Right.
Ensure our access to comprehensive sexuality education in our schools. So when I study maths and science, let me also learn about my sexuality. So
Right.
that's what the girl children wanted to suggest.
Right.
And they also said ensure non-judgmental and community-based and institutional protection mechanisms,
Right.
which do not criminalize us.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's a child marriage happening, the parents are booked, so many things happening. So if you are good, already there are so many child marriages happening in India, and
Right.
we got the statistics. Now,
Right.
if you are increasing the age up to 21, we'll make more parents culpable
Right.
or they will become more, I mean, many cases will increase. It's
Right.
not going to solve the problem at all. So these are some of the suggestions given by, there are many more, but I don't want to give everybody everything, but it is actually available in the public domain. It's always important, one of the fundamental rights of the child is to participate. So
Right.
if you are promulgating a law with regard to children, the most important stakeholder is the child or children.
Right.
So, and they have the right to participate. So,
Right.
we as adults or the system, the government should consult children and take their opinion before we pass a law about them. That's
Right.
what we civil society organizations are also asking the government to do. And
Right.
luckily, they have opened up this discussion and they have listened to the views of children. And
Right.
I hope and I pray that the government will take seriously the
Right.
suggestions of children and then do not raise that age 21.
Right. Right. I think this reminds me of something that we had in the previous conversation. We were talking to Dr. Shekhar Sheshadri, who is a
Yeah,
senior
from
associate
Nimans. Yeah.
in NIMHANS,
Yeah.
and he was talking about the culture of conversations, right? So he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about how with kids it's about communicating with them,
Mm-hmm.
understanding and talking to them, two-way communication, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
not about putting down our own expressions and enforcing
Exactly.
things on them, which is
Yeah.
exactly what's kind of coming through from you as well, because
Yeah.
these kids have their own voices and things that they think that they need to learn and understand. So I think what you've said is absolutely valuable and something that we must all think about, right?
Yeah. In this connection, I also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the ILO, International Labour
Right.
Organization. They revised their stand, or they wanted to talk more about child labor.
Right.
And being a UN body,
Right.
they actually consulted children all over the world,
Right.
all over the world. And the BREDS has been also partnered with ILO in consulting children about their work.
Right.
What do they think about work? Should they work? Not work?
Right.
What type of work they can do? All that. So this is the time now we need to consult all people, all sections before we really formulate a law.
Right. Right. I think a lot of the things that you have said, I think that's first of all too much information, and I think we'll all need to pause
Yeah.
a little bit and gather what you have said, because
Also,
it's
yeah,
no, it's a lot of information we need to know, right? We don't
yeah,
know
yeah,
these things. We need to know these things. It'll take
yeah,
us some time for these things to settle, but thank you for putting it out there so that we are a little more aware of these things, right?
yeah. Thank you.
And which is what I was getting to, and thank you for very beautifully explaining each of these rights and things like that.
Yeah,
And then what you are bringing forward is, the voices of these children need to be heard, and their
yeah,
own right to education, their right to choose, their right to learn, and things like that should be given to them.
yeah,
And that's where organizations like yourself come into play, who intervene and
yeah,
facilitate this process for them. Which brings me to your project, which is the Cream Project. If you
yeah.
would like to talk about that.
Yes. So I'll give you a little bit background about a CREAM. CREAM
Sure.
is Child Rights Education and Action Movement. That's the expansion for CREAM. Of course, Breads is the name of the organization. Slice is our newsletter, and Cream is our project. So maybe it's all breakfast items
Very,
we have.
very, very well thought.
Yeah. So our solutions of Don Bosco, we've been working with children, especially in Karnataka, for very many years. And then we have State Children's Center in the city of Bangalore called Bosco. Then we have many rehabilitation centers for child laborers in different districts of Karnataka, especially northern Karnataka. So these solutions have been working from Bosco Fathers to our projects have been working with children for so many years. And then over the years, we gathered a lot of experience
Right.
and a lot of strategies were used to prevent child labor, eradicate child labor, all that. And of course, the main strategies were preventive and remedial or
Right.
curative.
Right.
Remedial means if a child is working, then we rescue the child and bring her to Don Bosco, look after her for 1 year and prepare her for mainstream school, and then pursue, ask her to pursue her mainstream education from home or from a hostel or even from Don Bosco.
Right.
But then running 10 rehabilitation centers in Karnataka is not going to solve all the problem of child
Right.
labor or child marriage. Then we said the onus should be on the community. We
Right.
should throw the ball back to the community. And the community, the village should take responsibility for their own children.
Right.
For that, they should be aware of their rights, the rights of children,
Right.
and the dignity of child, right? And
Right.
the importance of education. So
Right.
we needed to educate the parents, the teachers, the Gram Panchayati officials, the Anganwadi workers, the youth group members, the school development monitoring committee, except everybody around the child should be educated on the importance of rights of children and education, so that they should take responsibility for their village and their children.
Right.
But the third step was create. We said, why can't we involve children themselves in their right to education or right to protection or right
Right.
to participation? And as I was mentioning, the fourth right is the right to participate.
Right.
What is why don't we really explore the possibility of the child to participate in her own development
Right.
or in the development or the exercise of the rights of her own friends, for
Right.
example?
Right.
If my friend Meera, she's not coming to school and I'm going to school, why she's not coming to school? Why my friend Lakshmi is given in marriage when she is in
Right.
class 9?
Right.
So I should also take responsibility for my friends. So
Right.
that was the concept behind CREAM.
Right.
So in CREAM, what we did was we go to a government school, we talk to children and teachers about child rights, of course, also all the other stakeholders in the community, and then we form child rights club in every
Right.
school.
Right.
And maybe I'll give you the statistics later. So every school in Karnataka, government school should have a child rights club. That's what we wanted and we wished. And the government of Karnataka has actually passed an order.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Sutola, an order that in every government school in Karnataka should have a child rights club.
Okay.
And then we also prepared a manual how to form a child rights club. What
Right.
are those steps that we should take?
Right.
And we also advise the education department and the government school teachers that the social science teacher could be one in charge of the child
Right.
rights club.
Right.
Now, after having trained the children on child rights and picking the leaders from or representatives from different classes, we form a club of 18 to 19 or 20 members in every school. So that
Right.
would be the core committee of Child Rights Club. And they
Right.
would gather every month and
Right.
discuss issues related to their rights.
Right.
As I said, why some friends are not coming to school,
Right.
why the girl children do not have toilets in the school,
Right.
and that's the major reason why girl children are not coming to school, especially after their class 8 or 9.
Right.
Some of them don't pursue their PUC,
Right.
or PUC because they have to walk or they have to go a long way. Also
Right.
because there is no toilet in the
Right.
in the government school. Why
Mm-hmm.
there is no compound wall? Why the midday meal is not working properly? Why there is not enough infrastructure and facilities in the government school? So these are the issues that children discuss in the school, and then they complain or they raise their voice, they address these issues to the SDMC first, that
Right.
is the School Development Monitoring Committee, which is in every government school in Karnataka.
Right.
They also take up the matter to the
Right.
Gram Panchayat, and they have this something called Makkala Grama Sabha, means
Right.
Children's Parliament, which is in
Right.
the month of November. And
Right.
all the government schools are supposed to organize Makkala Grama Sabha,
Right.
wherein the children can participate in the government meeting, government body, local government body meeting, and
Right.
they would they would raise these issues that are
Right.
actually in the school,
Right.
and then make sure these people really address them, and and we have had a lot of success with this Makla Grama Sabha, children addressing these issues with the adults in the village,
Right.
and they got schools toilets granted, they got better desks and benches, they have drinking water facility, all
Right.
those things have happened.
Right.
So this is what that we are also talking to the government, and the government has been very, very cooperative. The
Right.
Karnataka government is very progressive in that sense. At least in letter and spirit, they are with us. They
Right.
really want to really work for the betterment of the children.
Right.
But sometimes somewhere where they are lacking is the local implementation.
Right.
So we prepared a manual for child rights
Right.
from Brad Screen Project, and then it is already approved by the Education Department. It is approved by UNICEF,
Right.
and it is also approved by Karnataka State Commission for Protection of Child Rights.
Right.
So with all this partnership, the book is approved.
Right.
Now we want the government of Karnataka to make sure that there's a textbook on child rights in every school in Karnataka.
Right.
To within Cream project, we are able to distribute wherever we were functioning in the 10
Right.
districts. We could
Right.
distribute those books because we had some money in the project. But
Right.
now we can't do more. Now it's the time government comes back, and then
Right.
there is sustainability.
Right.
Cream project will run only when we have money. But then afterwards, it has to be the responsibility of the government of Karnataka, especially the education department.
Right.
And they have shown great interest. And I should say in the last few years, whenever we met them and discussed this issue, they were very, very open. Maybe because of the budget constraints, they were not able to print books for all. But I'm
Right.
sure in the coming years with the Cream project, we will be able to do this with our advocacy efforts.
Right.
And through the Cream project, we were able to reach out to more than 300,000 children across Karnataka,
Right.
10 districts.
Right.
And then through the children themselves, they were able to stop 914 child marriages.
Right.
So if you know who comes to know about child marriage first, it's about their friends. The
Right.
friends come to know more than anybody else in the school.
Right.
So when friends come to know about their friend getting married, they discuss that in their child rights club meeting,
Right.
and they call child helpline,
Right.
or they complain to the district child protection officer, no
Right.
DCPO. So there are different. So through these trainings, the children know whom to contact.
Right.
Which are those child protection mechanisms that are available in the district where they have access to.
Right.
So with that, they are empowered actually. They are empowered and they can really protect their own rights, also the rights of their own friends.
Right.
And then they also brought back children who were working. Around 3,000 children were brought back from work.
Mm-hmm.
Another 3,900, almost 4,000 children were actually school dropouts. And because of the the working of the Child Rights Club, they are
Right.
able to go and talk to the parents, talk to the
Right.
employer, and make sure that child is coming back to school.
Right.
So when they become aware, they also exercise their right to participate
Right.
in their own development, in the development of their own children. So
Right.
in that way, we are very happy that we could reach out to so many children through our own Don Bosco projects, and at least the next generation of these children they will make sure that their children will go to school for sure.
Right.
That
Right.
is my very firm conviction.
Right.
There's only there are so many things to it, but I want to say this in nutshell about the cream. We've been working. I mean, this cream project has been going on from the year 2012 onwards.
Right.
Almost 8 years we have worked for children and their rights in Karnataka.
Sure. So the reason I was pushing you to talk about this project is because it's a great example of how, the state government, local authorities, and the people and the community,
Hmm.
along with the children, kind of come together to bring
Yeah.
about a change, right?
Yes.
It's not
Exactly.
just one level, it's happening
Yeah.
at different levels. And
Exactly.
you're giving the onus to the children because the
Yeah.
children can then take a decision or make a decision for themselves and the people around them, which
Yes.
is great. And it goes back to the fact about where you were talking about, participation of these children
Yes.
because it's about their own life. I mean, they can at least have a say in it, right?
Yes.
So that
Exactly.
I think that's the reason that the project works very well.
Yeah.
From there, so I have had the fortune of kind of going around and meeting some of these children,
Yeah.
talking to them, going to some of these places. Some of the things that's coming to my head is I remember very clearly. Some of these kids couldn't go beyond, a certain level of education, beyond high school because they didn't have facilities in the nearby towns and villages for them to kind of communicate to a higher level education, right?
Yeah.
And then when you come to child marriage, there were people who found loopholes and they would
Yeah.
perhaps go to another district and get married even though they were told that they can't get married and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you could talk to us a little bit about what are your findings that you have found in your so many years of experience, and what is it that you have found in Karnataka or Kerala that you would like to share with us? I think one of my biggest learnings, just if I could give my 2 cents, was that
Yeah.
something as simple as education that we take so much for granted, right,
Mm-hmm.
is a luxury. I mean, for these kids because they have to fight so much for it. And I
Yeah.
think we must all just be grateful for the smaller things that we fortunately get um, for the
Exactly.
lack a little more easily than these kids. And
Yeah.
and these kids are fighting for their own rights to have
Mm-hmm.
their own life,
Yeah.
and pursue their things that they love, by themselves. So yeah,
Yeah.
please share your experiences.
Yeah. So this is a big difference. As you said, education is the key.
Right.
That is the key.
Right.
Yeah. And you see the difference between Kerala and Karnataka. Of
Right.
course, no. Kerala,
Right.
when we were children, there would not be any child at home at all.
Right.
Everybody will be in their uniform, early morning getting up, and then going to school, going to
Right.
school. So it has become part of the culture, part of the system. This
Right.
is what we also want to see in Karnataka. Every school, every child in Karnataka should be in the school and studying well.
Right.
It's not only be in the school. The
Right.
education department will come with their statistics saying that okay, all the children are in school and they're all enrolled.
Right.
There have been a lot of programs by even KSCPC, Chalakade, and all those programs. We've done school enrollment campaign every year. We do. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan comes out with a big statistics every year in the month of August because
Mhm.
June the school opens and then they
Right.
wait for 2 months to make sure that all the children are in the school and then in the August they do a survey and come out with the big reports.
Right.
Of course, they're all enrolled in the school.
Right.
Most of their names are in the school, but then the fact is that they are not coming to school. And some of them
Right.
really drop out.
Right.
So, as I said, education is the key and maybe the only key to development, especially among children. But
Right.
having said all this, I should say that as you asked me about my experience, of course, from 2002 onwards, I was working with children in Davangere with the Father Kuriakos. We have a center for rehabilitating child laborers, both boys and girls.
Right.
And even at that time, we worked with UNICEF and the district administration um, for the cause of children and their rights.
Right.
And from that moment till now, if you take the journey, I think in Karnataka, we are improving.
Right.
We should be positive about it. We
Right.
should be optimistic about it.
Right.
Earlier the child marriage used to be around 41.2% in 2005, for example.
Okay.
That was the rate of child marriage. But now it has come to 23 percentage. So
Right.
almost half it has come down. So
Right.
I should say we should be optimistic and working with these children over the past years and with the government systems and the government school, with all these people, lots of awareness have been created. Lots of awareness have been created. And if you
Right.
look at every district, there are lots of child protection mechanisms available.
Right.
Headline is very active, and they do a wonderful job in responding to those violations of child rights. We have a district child protection officer at every district.
Right.
There is a CWC Child Welfare Committee. There is
Right.
AJP and Juvenile Justice Board in every district.
Right.
So WCD is working. Anganwadi is there. The government has really put mechanisms in place. Actually, if you look at it.
Right.
But then what we need is to fuel these machines,
Right.
and then make sure they really run well.
Right.
And that is our role actually.
Right.
Yeah, at least at this stage, as an NGO, we need to facilitate. We have to join hands with the government mechanisms,
Right.
strengthen the system,
True.
and give more awareness to them. And then they run better. They run
Right.
better. Not that they can't run on their own, but
Right.
initially we need to really put some pressure on them and give them a lot of awareness programs. And
Right.
children become a very good stakeholder. When children go and ask questions, nobody can say no
Right.
because they have no hidden agenda. They
Right.
have no politics.
That's
They
so
have no
true. Yes.
affiliations.
Yes.
If people might still, okay, who is this man, Father Joy?
Yeah.
They might ask questions. But
Yeah.
if children go as a force and raise their voice, their concerns,
Right.
and people know they have no other agenda except their own good and their
Right.
own rights. So that's a big advantage of Cream Project. And I see that over the years, we are on the right way, on the right path. And in the years to come, we will see bigger changes, especially in the field of education and the rights of children being promoted and upheld and respected. And I'm very optimistic, and I'm sure Karnataka will progress in a bigger and faster way in the coming months and years ahead.
Sure. I think we are all optimistic, and in that hope
Yes,
is why we are having this conversation.
yes,
To that effect, to what you have already said, would you like to share any personal stories and experiences, of course, without giving away any names, so that
yeah,
it allows us to put things into a little more perspective?
yeah. What has been amazing is, as you also might have seen when you went around and making stories of children, the
Right.
enormous capacity of the child. There was once a child. Um, she was part of a club, and then there was this one teacher who was abusing children in their school, and they were really frightened and they did not want to tell to the parents or to the teachers or to SDMC. But finally, they broke the silence and then they discussed this in the child rights club.
Right.
And then they called the child helpline. It was a big case and then all these things. And they also told the authorities.
Right.
And one of the suggestions by these children who found out the issue was this: please, next time, don't send this person to teach.
Right.
Let him be in the education department. Let him work in an office, for
Right.
example, in
Right.
there and do clerical work,
Right.
maybe with the computer or some other work. He can be in the let him work, but then he's not the best person to be in a school, for example.
Right.
Because if he goes to another school, he might do the same. So most often, what happens is when something is happening or when a case is filed against a teacher, this teacher is transferred to another school,
Right.
but it's not going to solve the issue.
Right.
So and this suggestion has come from the children themselves.
Right.
That was something very, very eye-opening for us.
Right.
They think of solutions to their own problems in a bigger and better way than we others think of.
Right.
So, given an opportunity and a platform, children have immense capacity and potentiality to open up, to express, to participate,
Right.
and they have their own solutions to their problems.
Yeah.
And we have cases of children, for example, in Davangere, they call for a press meet. We adults sometimes we find so difficult to call for a press meet,
Right.
but they write to the press, say we are coming for a press meet. Would you come and listen to us?
Right.
And they go and they really address the press and they raise those issues that they are facing, whether it is
Right.
about child marriage or child problem. And in another place, there was an issue of midday meal.
Right.
The teacher was in charge, was not really taking care of the midday meal, and then the children stopped eating. They said, "We don't want to eat. We don't want to
Right.
eat," and they were holding their plates on their head and doing a protest and all that.
Right.
And then it came into the media thing, and then a lot of media came and they covered the story. And then the people came, the education department came, and they set right those issues. And then from then onwards, they had a good meal.
Right.
So when children also do it collectively,
Right.
it's also not easy for the teachers to
Authorities. Yes.
to really to
Ignore. Yes.
discriminate or ignore these issues.
Yes.
So there have been a lot of wonderful experiences working with these children, and then they always teach us. We
Right.
always got whenever I go visiting schools, monitoring this project and talk. I make sure that every time I go to a school and talk to the children and
Right.
address them and sit with them and chat with them and hear them. And they
Right.
have always a lot of nice things to share, and they have their own solutions to their own problems.
Right.
That was something very, very
Right.
nice and
Right.
experience.
I think that's very heartening to hear, and
Yeah,
it's nice to see. I only wish more power to these children, and that
yeah,
they grow and only grow stronger and stronger.
yeah.
Before we wind up, let me just see if we have any questions from our viewers who are watching us.
Hmm.
If not, then we can wind up. Just give me a minute.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for Father Joy, guys, based on what he has spoken or about child rights, about education, whatever it is that you have, please feel free to throw it at him. We'll give it a minute or two. If you have any questions, we'd love to answer them. Um, uh, Before that, I think, Father, if you could talk to us a little bit about what is it that you think is the biggest challenge uh, for communities like these, for children like these,
Mhm.
for people like us, and what is the one solution that you see apart from all the things that we have spoken about, even if it's something as simple as a shift in mindsets?
Yeah. Uh, the biggest, you said the biggest
Challenge,
challenge.
right?
The biggest challenge would be to, as you said, to convince the government mechanisms.
Right.
Each of those mechanisms, if they are already in place and they are working, if
Right.
they have that will and the audacity and the capacity and that
Right.
interest,
Right.
that if I am in charge of this district, I will make
Right.
sure that every child is in the school and their rights are protected. So if they have that political will, that interest, that mindset, I think then we'll have a better society for our children. Then that would be the
Right.
biggest challenge,
Right.
to make sure that all the stakeholders really take responsibility for children and their rights.
Right. Right. I think we don't have any questions.
Mhm.
If we do have anything, I think, Father, you can, we'll make sure that
Yeah.
you answer them at a later point.
Hmm.
So I think we're almost towards the end. And Father, I'd like to end on a positive note. I'd like to ask you if you have any closing thoughts first, and second, how have you managed to stay positive in these testing times? These are trying testing times where, amidst a pandemic, things are
Yeah.
getting difficult. What is it that has kept you optimistic?
Yeah, BREDS is the development organization of Don Bosco for the two states, Kerala and Karnataka.
Right.
So our project is not only CREAM. CREAM is one of our projects, but we have also other responsibilities to look after. Other
Right.
projects are there.
Right.
And as the development organization, we are also in charge of disaster management
Right.
or relief work.
Right.
And pandemic like COVID was a big time challenge for us.
Right.
because we have to really uh, run into action and take initiatives to make sure that children and adults they don't starve.
Right.
So through our own Don Bosco organizations across Kerala and Karnataka, we
Right.
reached out to thousands of people, children who were really hungry because of lockdown,
Right.
because they lost their jobs.
Right.
So we had no option to be pessimistic or to be to be stressed, but then we had to really work. And
Right.
during this pandemic, we had to really work harder.
Right.
Also, our regular projects were running, but then
Right.
we had to do extra work to make sure that we could reach out to some of those people who are really suffering, especially the migrants in Kerala.
Right.
You have seen those plight of the migrants during lockdown, how they
Right.
walked from south to north,
Right.
especially in Delhi and Calcutta, etc. But then
Right.
we had also a lot of migrant population in Kerala,
Right.
and they are also wanting to go back. They
Right.
lost jobs. All the construction industries were shut.
Right.
Lockdown means no hotel industry.
Right.
So where do they find job and where do they find food to eat?
Right.
So it was a big crisis for them. And
Right.
then we have a big project called Kismat,
Mhm.
means hope
Right.
for those people in Kerala. And then through our migrant help desks in Kerala, we reached out to those people,
Mhm.
and that was a big help. And also the other people. So we distributed ration kits, food. We also, through our tailoring centers in our Don Bosco centers, we stitched face masks for people who could not afford to buy them.
Right.
It was scarce in the beginning. Now everybody has got masks and
Right.
all different types and
Right.
colors. But
Yes.
earlier it was not the case. There was no mask, so we had
Right.
to stitch masks for them.
Right.
Then, uh, then the online education came for the children. For some time, they are enjoying the holidays. But came June, they had to attend the online classes,
Right.
and many children could not access online classes.
Right.
Especially in Karnataka, they had only this Chandana TV, which was doing the lessons and then
Right.
underwater lessons, and many of the children do not have TV at home.
Yeah.
So those issues were there. In Kerala, for example, most of the online classes were through YouTube and other social media platforms.
Right.
But the kids did not have the devices that
Right.
they need to have in order to access online classes. So what we did was we generated some money
Right.
and provided them with the devices that they needed to really go for online classes. And many people are also young people were stressed because of COVID. They had to sit at home, which they were not used to.
Right.
And so we also organized counseling sessions for those young people who really want, so like telephone counseling, etc.
Right.
So
Right.
these are some of the initiatives that we reached. We also reached out. If you look at the statistics, around 3 lakh people we reached out to during this COVID time. So
Right.
there was no time for being stressed out about pandemic.
Right.
Really swing into action and help out these people who were suffering due to the pandemic.
Right. Right. I think we couldn't have ended on a more hopeful note, with so much help and so much work that's
Yeah.
happening. We only wish more and more power to you. We hope, you take this forward and it impacts as many people, as many children, as many young adults and adults as well. Thank you so much, Father, for giving us
Thank
your
you.
time and helping us understand a little bit on ground how this happens, and especially with the CRCs and things like that, and understanding
Yes.
the Cream project, which allows
Yeah.
different level of administration and putting that together.
Mhm.
Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure people who were listening in also learned a lot.
Yes.
Thank you so much, those of you watching, and Father, wish you all a very happy Diwali and great festive season.
Yes.
Stay safe and stay positive. I will meet you guys next week with another interview on Dialogues That Matter, a series where we speak to change makers. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shruti, and
Thank
happy
you.
Diwali to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.